You have some very interesting things going on with your toes that I am excited to translate for you and for the betterment of your life. So, when I'm doing these readings, the right foot is your external world, the way people experience you, the way you interact with the world, and the left foot is your internal self and your connection with source. So when I'm looking at your toes, obviously the very first thing that I see, the very first message that is coming is what you've got going on here with your spirit path toe. This is your left big toe. So I want to talk about both of these toes and particularly this spirit path toe. So on your right foot, it's your left, on your right foot, it is your life path toe. And on your left foot, it's your spirit path toe. So both of these toes are fairly well grounded. They've got a round aspect quality to them around the tops. And so this indicates groundedness, flexibility, adaptability, and just a social aspect to you that you're easy to get along with, people like you, and you can fit in a variety of situations. So we'll start off by talking about your right foot, your life path toe, and that's going to inform our conversation that we have here about your spirit path toe. So you see that this toe is coming up fairly straight. There's not large protrusions here, coming up pretty straight. The nail of this toe is tracking just a little bit to the future. So just be conscious of how you're thinking about the future, what you're thinking about the future, and is it taking you out of the present or making the present moment less fun to be in? And we always want to be present. We live in a society and a culture that's always talking about the future, and plan now for the future. And the only thing that's real is what's happening right now. The future is very, very mutable. And so making sure that, yes, it's a good idea to prepare for the future, to not make choices now that are going to negatively impact your future, and to make choices for what it is right now. So becoming a little bit less future oriented would be a very good practice for you. Well grounded, again, the entire pad of the toe comes down and makes contact with the earth. And so as far as your life path, the nail is healthy, the toe is healthy. Keep going, doing what you're doing in your life path. And now let's talk about this toe, your left big toe, your spirit path toe. So the really positive things, it also comes up nice and straight. There's a little bit of a leaning just like with this other, but this can be easily remedied through being more present in any given moment and preparing for the future, planning for the future, but not living your entire life in the future mode. Now, what you've got going on here with the nail. So this nail has been unhealthy for quite some time. And I know you've got a bone spur in the big toe. So bone spurs indicate built up resentment. So this would be a really important place for you to journal. And that is about where are some of the resentments that you have not released yet? Where are you still holding on to the resentment? And it probably has to do with spirit path or your connection with source. Something in those aspects of your life have in the past created resentment, and your body is ready to release those things. The rest of this toe, the shape of this toe, what I just said is true when I have a physical releasing in some way, a yawn, or right now I'm actually clearing my throat, which tells me that this is something that needs to come out of your head. And whether it's written or spoken, it needs to be communicated to be released. So your throat, the center of communication, the center of expression, is wanting to be released. And I can feel a sneeze in my nose, which is really driving this all home. the resentments that you have, that you've built up, are ready to be released. And the best way that those can be released is through expressing them, through communicating them. So really take some time for yourself to journal about this. And I would start with going back through time and just pinpointing some significant emotional events. Those are SEEs, C's, because significant emotional events allow us to see things. And so just go back and pay attention. Can you hear that? This is super fascinating. I'm always fascinated when I have a really strong physical reaction to the messages that I'm receiving. And I invite you to just take this into your heart and receive it. So going back in time and looking at events, conversations, thoughts, experiences that had a significant emotional impact on you. So this can look like things that are negative, and this can look at things that are positive. And I put those things both in air quotes. So a negative would be being criticized, for example, about something in your spirituality, a deep feeling of unworthiness, a burden, a spiritual burden of some kind. Those can be perceived as negative. Everything is here to serve us. Everything is here to guide us in our soul evolution. But those things, especially when we're young, can be perceived as being negative. So something positive would be receiving high praise or recognition for things in your spiritual path. Being told, oh, you're so spiritual, and you having a significant emotional response to that, and feeling like, we've got the negative and the positive there. Because what these things do to us, the negative obviously diminishes our self-worth, our self-esteem around those things. The positive, while it temporarily boosts it, it can also build unhealthy beliefs that say things like, well, if I'm not that way, then I must be a bad person. Or if I'm not making some sort of spiritual impact, then I must not be as worthy or as good. So I hope that those were some good idea generators for you. But this will be a powerful, powerful practice. I will be curious to know about this bone spur. And as you do this work, if it will resolve itself. I've seen stranger things happen. I would also highly recommend taking some kind of ointment or olive oil, or what I'm thinking of is olive oil with an essential oil, or some of your mom's good homemade skin salve, and rubbing that into that toe while saying some affirmations to yourself, like, I'm actively releasing the resentments and the spiritual resentments, all resentments from the past that no longer serve me, and always for the highest and best good. I think that that's going to make a big difference in that toe. And if nothing else, it's going to soften things up in there and prevent infection and promote healthy nail growth if you are increasing blood circulation to that through the use of massage. Olive oil with some lavender essential oil would also be a very beneficial thing. You only want to use gentle things for this, because we want to release resentments, blocks, beliefs that no longer serve in a gentle way, and just sending them back out so that they can be renewed. You are an absolute leader, and this shows up in your astrology chart too, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But these spaces between your toes here, this is a king's toe. You are an absolute leader. People will follow you, even though you're not like a look at me leader. People will follow you because you have a presence about you that people trust and they want to follow. And this shows up strongly. This is one of the most prominent aspects of your astrological chart. In fact, let's look at your astrological chart right now. We're talking about this space down here that is the leadership toe or the king's toe. You are okay standing on your own, and you are a leader. And I invite you to remember that good leaders are also sometimes first followers. This also shows up in the chart. All right. So when we see things here, the first thing I want you to look at on your particular chart are these bold lines that go and cross through your chart. So just a little bit of education. This chart maps the stars, the planets, the asteroids, where they were as going around the earth at the particular moment of your birth. Okay, even people that are born at the same time, they will have a slightly different star chart and how that shows up differently in their lives. So when we look at these quadrants, what is above this line is outer work. What's here is inner work. Okay, so you look here, in your lifetime, you are here to be working out with humanity. Now, we look here at this line, this is you, this is everyone else. So when we look here, look at all of these planets, and the sun and the moon are considered planets in astrology. When you look here, this is all in the you and out there. So doing the work for you is going to be what influences out in humanity. When we look at this other quadrant, this is the most outer quadrant, meaning what's happening out here is evolving your soul, and you're meant to be creating impact at the global level is over here. Over here, you have a couple of important things. You've got a couple of goddess asteroids here, but we're not going to go into that. That's beyond the scope of this. You have your South Node, which means you've done this before. You've done this before. That means that you have been a leader before, a strong and powerful leader before you came into this life. You know how to do it. You have this South Node here, which is where you've been. It's what you've mastered already. So you have everything that it takes to, in this life, do the inner work to make a global impact. The other planets that are over here are Pluto. He's the transformer and the distiller, and he is in the sign of Sagittarius, which is about higher education, philosophy, long distance travel, and spirituality. They also happen to fall into the 9th house, which Sagittarius rules. So the 9th house and Sagittarius are about those things that I just said: long distance travel, spirituality, philosophy, higher education, and that's where Pluto is. So you're here to do some disruptive, transformative work in those aspects. And Mars is here. Mars is the planet of action. Mars is the drive. Mars is fiery, and it's in fiery Sagittarius. And so Mars in Sagittarius moves fast. So this doesn't have to be a slow process. Pluto is a very slow moving planet. Mars is a faster moving planet. Mars is a personal planet. So where your action is, your transformative action in philosophy, higher education, spirituality, long distance travel, and higher education. That's how you're going to make your impact. All right. Over here, this is your you. This is what you are doing, and it's going to show up out here. So we're going to talk about, we're going to move this way in this chart as it pertains to the toes. So first of all, I hope that I've driven home a little bit what this leadership toe, how this shows up in your chart, and it gets even better than that. So we've got this line here. This is called your midheaven. This is where you are moving into in this lifetime. You are moving. This is just the direction that the energy moves in this life. And it's really nice because you've got Mars right here next to your midheaven. Mars at 26 degrees, your midheaven at 27 degrees, all in Sagittarius, which we've talked to at length. This is also your 10th house cusp. So all these little pie pieces that go around, these are houses. Houses in astrology are the different areas of life. Your 10th house is about fame and reputation. Your 10th house is your public life. Your 10th house is how you make your impact in this world. So the cusp goes right here into Sagittarius. And so we've already talked a lot about what this looks like out here. But then you have your moon here in the sign of Capricorn in your 10th house, which is ruled by Sagittarius, but all of your planets in your 10th house are in Capricorn. Capricorn is about achievement. Capricorn is the mountain goat that climbs to the top of the mountain, that, goes over boulders, goes over all the dangers of climbing the mountain and climbs the mountain. Capricorn is tenacious. Capricorn has high integrity. Capricorn wants results. Achievement is important. Taking responsibility, personal responsibility, and that other people take personal responsibility is very, very, very important to you. Your moon represents your non-negotiable needs. It's your emotional self. This is likely where you came from as a child, was from this emotional self of your moon, where you wanted to be recognized, you wanted to achieve, you also wanted structure. Your signature of your chart. So even though you've got you've got all these planets and all these things in different places, the signature of your chart is mutable air. So you will likely identify largely with Gemini people. And in fact, if you were to go and read a horoscope, read the Gemini horoscope. That's going to be the one that is most applicable to you, because Gemini is the sign of mutable air. And it's interesting that you have your North Node and your Saturn here in Gemini. So we are going to talk more about that as we talk about your toes in relation to your chart. This mutable air is like steam. It's like gas. So if, or like the wind, like a tornado, that is a better analogy. It's like a tornado. Okay, it is wild, it is unpredictable, it can be destructive, and it can switch direction just so fast. And so that is the signature of your chart, is that mutable air, that tornado, which is a beautiful gift because you are an extraordinarily fast thinker. Plus, with all this Aquarius energy, when you're in any given room, you're already 20 steps ahead of everyone else in that room. And so sometimes you might actually be very bored with conversation. Intellectuality is extremely important to you. And that is part of your achievement with your moon in Capricorn. Now, because your moon is not talking to any other planets, it is conjunct your Chiron here, meaning they're sitting here close together. But it's not talking, all these lines in the middle of the chart, this is how the different planets are talking to each other. Your moon isn't talking to anyone. Your moon in Capricorn is your rock. Okay? Really lean into your Capricorn energy to build structure, to create boundaries, to prioritize. These are actually very, very, very important to you. And the mutable air signature of your chart does not support that. Okay, so your moon is just sitting here by itself saying, hey, I need some structure. I need to create some boundaries. I need some prioritization, but I'm having a hard time doing it because of all your mutable air. So this is where you create systems and habits. You just take the time to do that. Or you work with someone else who can help you create those things. You can be a little indecisive, and you can sometimes become reckless. So just really be aware of those things. But your moon needs that structure. Because your moon is unaspected in Capricorn, you may oftentimes feel like you're somewhere on that mountain and there's so many choices, there's so many opportunities, there's so many things to do. There's so many aspects of you that just, they fit together because it's you, but you might feel scattered. And so pulling those pieces in together, so many parts, how can you connect them? And that's where your Gemini and your Aquarius, who are outside of the box thinkers, those energies can really help you. And in order to really achieve the success that you are absolutely capable of, because we see that you are a leader here, you must create and work within structure and boundaries. A couple of other notes that I took are you want to be recognized. You are emotionally sensitive, but you kind of keep that on the down low. You will naturally receive popularity and even notoriety. You are common sense and practical when it comes to money, if you're working within those structures. And you will work with the public. Now, we've already talked about that with this leadership toe. That is your destiny, to work with the public. Oftentimes, politicians have this kind of placement. You have high ambition, and you are destined for advancement, and you have a deep desire for advancement. You also have a need to feel socially useful. And this can also create judgment, because if other people don't appear to have social usefulness, you can fall into the shadow side of judgment about them. All right, now let's talk about how this is conjunct your Chiron. And this does have to do with these toes here and about where I'm going to move into with this toe here. So when your moon is conjunct your Chiron, you have wounds. And your wounds here, they are ready to be recognized. These are the resentments. These are the wounds. Now, we all have wounds. Chiron is the wounded healer in Greek mythology, who experienced the wounds of abandonment, betrayal, being hurt by friends, being hurt by their own poison. Chiron shows us where our wounds are, and your wound is here in Capricorn. Your wound comes from not feeling like you are doing good enough, not feeling like you are socially useful, not feeling safe to achieve, not feeling safe to be recognized. And our wounds are our greatest gift, because we then know how it feels to have that wound. Even if we never heal that wound, we can heal others. And so going back to the original conversation here about doing that journaling work, that's going to help reveal your wounds so that you can use them as the superpower that they are. All right. The next thing that we're going to talk about here are these communication toes. So I'm going to click back to the other picture so that we can get a closer look at them. I'd like you to just look at the difference between these toes. Your communication out with the world is leaning into your life path toe. So do you see how these two toes, they are leaning into each other. So you've got the leadership, but sometimes you don't trust yourself in the public, and that's because this is the channel of intuition. Sometimes you don't say what it is important to say, or you second guess how you've said it or communicated it. And sometimes the way that you are expressing and what you're communicating verbally don't always align. So pay attention to those things. Where are things not aligning? Because if this toe got just a little bit more on track, like what we were talking about, and this toe moved slightly more into place, more straight, then it would open up this channel of intuition. You are a highly intuitive person with your Pisces sun and your Pisces rising sign. Pisces is extraordinarily intuitive. Stop cutting that off with your logical mind. Your logical mind is very important. And it is important to you that you appear to be logical, that you appear to be scientific. And those are definitely a part of you. But don't let those parts of you cover up the intuitive part of you. The science, the logic, those are very important for that Capricorn moon, and as part of your life path. And this is the great thing is you have the duality, you have the polarity all contained within you. So make sure that you're also tapping deeply into that intuition and communicate. You have some fear about communicating too bluntly. It's time to release that fear. That's part of this releasing process. You were likely raised to speak softly, to be a pleaser, to keep the peace. And those things are important because we can always create more change through peace. And there is a time to fight for things. So always communicate in a high level, inclusive and respectful way. And it is important that you speak your truth. You've got some blocked energy around communication that's been going on for your whole life. It's really been going on. You can see some blocked energy here. This would have been when you were a tween, an early teen, when you were really coming into your power of being a man in this world. Time to release that. When you massage this toe, also massage this toe and release that energy there and trust yourself. You express yourself in alignment and then make sure you're speaking in alignment. Don't worry about what you should and shouldn't do. You have an extremely sensitive and logical at the same time nature. The way that you're going to communicate, you do have an absolute gift for communication, so use that gift. Let's talk about these action toes, all right? Some blocked action here on the right side. Explore what that is. What are you not taking action in? Or where are your have tos, shoulds, musts, and needs in the way that you're taking action? And just explore those. Do you really have to? Who said you should? Who made this a need? And if it's you internally, this is what you choose, that is fine. But if you feel put upon, or like some of the shoulds, needs, have tos, and musts are obligatory or out of alignment with you, it's going to show up. You are extraordinarily flexible. That would be the mutable air. You are very flexible, and you can oftentimes see the end, and you can have adjustable ways of taking action to get there. So again, I go back to that mountain goat on the mountain. looking up and seeing different ways and choosing the way. Not that there's necessarily an easy way. Achievement isn't always easy. In fact, what makes achievement is going through some of the stumbling blocks and things to get there. So be flexible in your action, and don't be so flexible that you fall into people pleasing or keeping quiet or not taking action in order to keep the peace. So Mars is the ruler of these action toes. And man, Mars has got your back in your chart here. Definitely has your back in getting in achieving your destiny. I also love how nice and straight these action toes are. You know how to take action. And this is also where the structure of Capricorn and the needs of this moon are very important, because without the structure, it just won't work. It won't, you won't be able to achieve what you need to achieve, because you'll be all over the place and so scattered. So Pisces here, I want to talk about Pisces. Pisces is like steam. Pisces is mutable air. So you've got all this mutable energy in you. And so I want you to just think of a pot of rice on the stove, and it's boiling and it's steaming. And the steam's just going out everywhere, right? That's kind of Pisces energy. So again, we have this need for structure in order to put the lid on that container so that it cooks the rice. If you look also here, you've got some oppositions here. Your midheaven is here wanting to move forward in the mutable, may I say, the mutable sign of Sagittarius, and it's setting off this opposition to Saturn in Gemini. So Sagittarius over here on one side of your chart, opposing Gemini on the other side of your chart. That's a polarity. One is mutable air, Gemini. One is mutable fire, Sagittarius. They're opposing each other. And Saturn is sitting right down here in your Gemini. And so this opposition is a place for creative opportunity. It's a place of duality, so that it's a place to gather in those opposing pieces to put the puzzle together. Let me just, in my book here, read some of the words of an opposition. It's a decision to be made. It's about boundaries and choice. There's some creative friction there. And there's also integration. That's the opportunity that the opposition offers us, is integration. And we've talked a lot about choices and decisions. For you to achieve what you desire in this life and what you are here in this lifetime to accomplish, you've got Saturn down here asking you to build structures. Saturn gets a bad rap because Saturn can be strict, but Saturn is strict because Saturn wants you to be successful. Think about Saturn as a trellis for a vine. If you don't have something for the vine to grow up, it just spreads out all over. And if you put it on a trellis, it has a way to grow and it can be shaped. Are you seeing a theme here? I know you're smart enough with all that Gemini and Aquarius energy. You absolutely are putting the pieces together here. All right. So let's talk about Mercury. Mercury is the ruler of this second toe. Mercury is expression and communication. And you've got Mercury here in the fixed air sign of Aquarius and in your 12th house. You've got a few things here in your 12th house. The 12th house is the house of endings. The 12th house is the house of mental health. The 12th house is a karmic house. It's a lot of the stuff that we bring in that we're here to resolve in this lifetime. So we talked about your South Node over here. You've done this before, and there were lessons that you came into this lifetime to learn, and they're showing up here in your 12th house. So one of them is Mercury in Aquarius. So with your Mercury in Aquarius, you are extraordinarily smart. You are social. You are imaginative. You have kind of a criticalness for accepted codes. Like you are not afraid to dig deep into tradition, into just the way things have always been. That is one of your gifts, is to dig into those things. And then you can find your own way. And when you do, you can literally move mountains. Hello, Moon in Capricorn. Not just climbing that mountain, moving the mountain. Okay, so just realize you might have a different way of communicating. It is out of the box. Aquarius is revolutionary. Aquarius is here to awaken us. Aquarius is here to question the status quo and embrace uniqueness. You can also tend to bite off more than you can chew. This is where, again, those boundaries and structures are important. And so opening up this communication expression toe is going to open up your intuition and expand your leadership. Let's move on to your relationship toes. Okay, your relationship toes and your fifth toes, your trust prosperity toes, are our most karmic toes. They're the toes that carry a lot of generational baggage with them. And Venus is the ruler of your relationship toes. Now, I want to just look at the difference between these toes. Your relationship with yourself feels pretty good. Like you're really self-aware. You think about what you think about. You take conscious action. You are aware when you're speaking negatively to yourself. It's time to bring that over into your relationships with others. Because of your Mercury, oops, wrong one. Because of your Venus in Capricorn, you are a very dedicated person in your relationships. And you may feel insecure. So you might try to overcompensate through achievement or material acquisition or being really smart or these other ways of kind of covering up your vulnerability. And so you can sometimes come across as being a little calculating in your relationships. Release desire for outcome in the relationship. This goes to looking to the future in your life path. Stop looking at the future and love what you have now. And when I say stop looking at the future, obviously when you get into a relationship with anyone, you want to be discerning, okay? And that's what Saturn and your Capricorn energy are doing for you. This is going to come naturally, that you will be discerning in who you create close relationships with. And once you've discerned, be present. The outcome that you desire may or may not happen. So just don't suppress your emotions. Play full out. With your placement of your Venus in Capricorn and in the 11th house, you will do well in business. You will do well in the public. And this relationship toe, massage it. Release insecurities. Release trauma from the past. Release past resentments and beliefs and step into who you are as the connector, as the attractor, and as the dedicated person in relationships that you are. Of course, you're going to get hurt in relationships. That's just part of the game. It's just part of this life. You are going to get hurt, but don't try to you're either going to play full out and get hurt and look back and know, at least you played full out, or you're going to hold back and try and not get hurt and still get hurt, and then wonder if you would have done things differently or done things better. if it would have been different. The lifetime cost of playing small in relationships in order to protect yourself, the lifetime cost is so much higher than playing full out and knowing you played full out even when you get hurt. So when you go into relationships, always remember that. And you are good at relationships. You are the glue of many relationships, families, friend groups, etc. And that will be part of your destiny in this lifetime, part of what you're here to master and to accept in this lifetime. All right. Let's talk about these relationship or these prosperity and trust toes. All right. If we look at this toe here on your right, this very much coincides with everything that we've talked about of you being in the public. You have the toes in the chart of having a great deal of prosperity. So that would be another journal prompt is, what does prosperity look like to you? And it can have so many facets: prosperity in relationships, prosperity in wealth, prosperity in achievement, prosperity in health. So what does prosperity look like to you? Your wealth and prosperity and are assured if you do what it takes, if you take the action and specifically create the structures for yourself. You are looking to the future. Your soul knows that this is coming. And so I invite you again to be very present. Also, be discerning in who you trust. Harness that Venus Capricorn energy and be discerning in who you trust. Don't just trust everyone, but trust fully those who you know that you can, understanding that they may let you down. In fact, they will let you down, but that doesn't diminish the fact that they are your people, they have your back, and they love you. How about trusting yourself? Okay, here on the left foot, trusting yourself is not, there's more blocked energy in trusting yourself, and that has to do with this channel of intuition here. You can trust yourself. You can trust yourself. Don't second guess your intuition. Don't second guess the way that you receive guidance from intuition, from your guides, from spirit. Don't second guess that. Don't let that logical brain get in the way and gaslight yourself. Go with what your gut says, or however you feel your intuition. So this would be another journal prompt, and that is, how do you hear spirit? How do you hear your intuition or feel it? Interesting that I said hear. I almost always say feel, so explore that. Do you hear it? Clairaudience is a powerful gift. That's the ability to hear things. Explore that a little bit. And learn to trust yourself. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about some things here in your chart. One of the most prominent features of the dialogue that your planets are having with each other is this big triangle that points right down here to your Jupiter. And then you got another one here. It's not quite as geometrical as this, but you've got this other big one pointing to Saturn. And we've talked a lot about Saturn. So we're not going to talk more about Saturn because we've already just covered that. You know, you need boundaries, structures, etc. Let's talk about this massively beautiful, lucky, beneficial triangle you've got pointing here to Jupiter. Okay, so let's talk about Jupiter first. That is in Leo and in the 5th house. And it's nice that your 5th house is ruled here by Leo. And so it's very aligned here. So Jupiter in Leo is you like to do things big. You're kind of a go big or go home kind of a person. You are an achiever. This ties in real nice here with your Capricorn moon. You are an achiever. You have a wide variety of interests. That's a beautiful thing about this Jupiter, who is the expander, the luck bringer, the joy bringer in Leo, the fifth house, which are the sign and the house of joy and creativity. This placement makes you lucky and successful. Now, excessiveness of Jupiter in Leo can create recklessness and some poor decision making. So use your discernment in what you're doing, but be expansive in your creativity, in your joy, in the way that you're experiencing life. Having fun is a very important part of your life. You want to figure things out. You want to achieve. You want to take action, but you need your Saturn here to bring centeredness and to bring structure. This placement also is being good at being in the public, even politics and teaching. And part of that comes from having part of this triangle here coming up to these other points in your chart. You have a lot, like we said, of this Aquarius energy. Aquarius is about revolution and change making. You can fit that in with where else we've talked about, including this action tone and the planet placements. You're here to make change. Absolutely revolutionary change. Let's see. Another journal question is how your mother has been important and influential in your life. Your moon represents your mother in your chart. Your moon is in the 10th house, and your moon is unaspected. It's and so journaling about that, and if it feels right, even having a discussion with your mother about the importance and influential experience that you've had with her, both the positive and the negative. But your mother here at the top of the chart is one of the most influential people in your life. So that relationship is important, and that honesty in that relationship is very, very important. All right. You do have your Mercury here. We've talked about Mercury. Mercury is in a trine with Saturn and a sextile with Pluto. So trines are lucky and sextiles are opportunities with effort. You are no stranger to putting in effort. Your ability to communicate. You've got this lucky break that you have with Saturn. So again, that Mercury speaking within the structure, and where it's in Aquarius, Aquarius is fixed water, unlike Pisces, which is mutable water. Mutable water. I meant to say Gemini, which is mutable air. Aquarius is fixed air. And so Aquarius, your Mercury placement here, will give you the ability to speak, like your communication toes here, and to create change with your communication and your expression. All right. Overall, in your chart, some of the shadow aspects of your chart, you can be indecisive, especially because you don't want to hurt people. Escapism and impracticality can be some of your shadow sides. The light sides, you are exuberant. People experience you as being buoyant, social. You are high in integrity. You have the ability to master things. Individuality is important to you, as is social responsibility. That combination is amazing. You are a revolutionary. You are imaginative. You're a dreamer. You are compassionate. You are creative. You are charming and likable. And this just all shows up both in your toes and in your chart. This is a chart of what's your natal chart here that we just looked at. And this is, as of today, the day of this reading, which is December 10th, 2022. So you've got Pluto here. Pluto's already gone over your moon and your Chiron, and it's now here on your Venus. So again, Pluto is the transformer. Pluto distills things. Think about distilling water. You take out all the stuff except the H2O. That's what gets left when you distill water. So Pluto is the distiller. Pluto is the alchemizer. So pay attention to how that's showing up in your relationships. You only get this once in a lifetime. Pluto only goes over your planets once in a lifetime. And some of your planets will never have Pluto go over it. But when it does, it is a big deal. In fact, I'm feeling inspired to read you just some of the words about Pluto. So Pluto is, well, let me find those pages. There it is. Pluto is the distiller, the transformer. Pluto eliminates and takes out. Pluto detoxifies. Pluto alchemizes. And Pluto is about power. I know you want relationships of equality. So another journal question would be, do I have any relationships that are not relationships of equality where I am subordinating or where I am dominating? And those can be some hard questions to ask, but that's what Pluto asks when Pluto is going over our Venus. You've got Saturn. Talk a lot about Saturn going over your Mercury now, right now, and knowing what you're doing in your life right now. Now is a perfect time for you to start to create these structures and around the way that you communicate and the way that you express. Because as we've talked about, that is one of the keys to the achievement that you are capable of, that is your destiny and that you desire in this life. So don't squander this opportunity while you have the cosmic energies helping you with your Mercury. Saturn will also, in the next month and year, be going over your Uranus. So Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. Uranus is the awakener. Uranus is the distiller. Be prepared when Saturn goes over Uranus, that you will start to create structure around. You will create more discipline around. You will have more mastery of. You will take responsibility. You will prioritize what you've got going on in your revolution, your personal and public revolution, the way that you are change making and disrupting this world, and the way that you will differentiate yourself and innovate. When Saturn goes over your Uranus, this could be a great opportunity for brilliant ideas and disruptive ideas and innovations. Uranus can be shocking. Uranus can really be just almost electrical. So be prepared for some changes there. And then Saturn and the Sun meet up pretty regularly. Saturn and Mercury do also, just because Mercury and the Sun are moving around the zodiac pretty quickly. So you will have other opportunities. I just know what you're doing right now in your life. You have the opportunity to create these structures, and just be prepared in the next 12 to 18 months to have some shakeups in your ideas, your values, your beliefs. All right. Then the other thing is you've got Neptune, which is very spiritual. It's the upper octave of Venus, and Jupiter both right here on your ascendant in Pisces. This is beautiful placement. This is really an opportunity. Your ascendant, your rising sign, is the way that people experience you. It's your leadership style. All right. You are a very spiritual leader. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with don't let the sciencey, logical mind override your intuitive, spiritual side. It is that unique, beautiful combination that is your superpower. All right, those are the three things that are important coming up. One other thing that I thought was interesting is this is your progressed moon. Don't worry about it. This looks like a lot of gobbledygook. I understand that. You were born on a waning crescent, or what is called a balsamic moon. This is right before it goes into the new moon. The moon, where you are right now, is in this gibbous phase, just leaving first quarter. First quarter is like mid-spring. It's when the little sprouts are coming up. All right. This gibbous phase, this is about really learning from the past, growing and strengthening. This is a great period of manifestation, change. The other words I'm seeking. We can have a discussion about this later. For some reason, the words aren't coming to me right now, and I don't know why. And but it was important for me to show this to you. You've got 30 months, 2.5 years in this gibbous phase, and then you'll move into your full moon phase. The full moon is the harvest, and I want you to just look at where this lies on your chart. This is the area that we talked about where you've done this before, you know what to do. Your Pluto is here to transform and taking that action in this full moon. This is the phase of the harvest. So all the seeds that you've planted your whole life, you're going to start to harvest them here. Do not be surprised if in 5 years or so, you experience a time where you really want to go inward. This will be the inner work that you do in order to start again. Your life in the next 10 years is going to be very interesting. And so hang on for the ride. It's going to be an exciting ride. And you, through your positive relationships that you really have with a lot of people, know your group, know your people, lean into them for support because you give a lot of support. So allow others to support you also. I hope you found this reading to be informative, insightful, inspiring, and enlightening. And please know I'm always here to answer any questions that you may have.